So every week there has been a major victory road tournament, and every time they have one, there's been a new meta development. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be going over Victory Roads 3 and 4, which has featured developments of Pokemon like Cleavor and Mega Dragonite, as well as the downfall of some common archetypes like Rain. We're going to take a look at all the results, all the information available to see why this is happening. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start the video. And I always say without further ado, and then I say, oh wait, like for your boy, subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications. Let me know if you like this type of videos, and now we can start. So we're going to be looking at two different tournaments today, Victory Roads 4 and 3. Victory Road, I feel like, is like outside of major tournaments like regionals, internets, and like really huge ones like the Grand Champions festivals. I think VR gives you the best insight into what players are thinking, at least like the really good ones, right? So I think they're the best barometer of what is working in the format right now. So we're going to be looking at two tournaments, like I mentioned, 4 and 3, because 3 has a little bit more information, but the tournaments are very similar in usage, whereas number 4 doesn't have all the usage stats out. But I still want to bring it up because it has the biggest shift at the top. So I'm going to start with the team that got into finals. Both teams that got into finals, Kyle Livinghouse's winning team and Christopher Hahn's runner-up team. So I do have these pasted opened here. So this is the team that won, that Kyle Livinghouse used. Featuring Mega Frostlass as the mega of choice. You see it's a modest nature, so that to me makes me believe that it's a bulky Frostlass, which it should be, honestly, at this point in VGC. Also, as you can see, the natures are here, even though the EVs are not, because VR is playing open nature now, because they believe that open natures is what's going to be coming for a tournament based on the updated rulebook. Well, that's another thing for another day. But yeah, so the team is Frostlass, bulky Frostlass with Auroraville, which I think is actually a solid mon. I know I've hated on Frostlass in the past, but I think that bulky Frostlass with Veil fills out the role that Frostlass needs to do really effectively, where it allows you to do like King Gambit stuff. Because you can protect your King Gambit with Veil, and this one has the Swords Dance variant, so you can get like a Swords Dance up very easily. You also have like what I presume to be a bulky Sneasler because it's adamant and it has Veil on the team. So because it's adamant, you put less points into your attack and you put it into your bulk, and a lot of times you put less into your speed as well, so you can have more bulk, especially with the Auroraville. You already have like the Tailwind, so you can make this faster as well. You can make this faster, so it's okay for them both to be bulky. Then the Bastion Legion does Bastion Legion things, right? But the cool part of the team, obviously, the Cleavor. This Cleavor set is the Focus Sash set, max speed, max attack. Stone Axe, close combat, feint, and protect. If you saw a cut, it's because my neighbor's dogs started wilding and they were all up in the recording. But anyway, Cleavor, Stone Axe, close combat, feint, protect, focus sash. I had looked at Cleavor previously, but I thought that like maybe it wasn't good enough. So I didn't ever want to bring it up to people, but like clearly players better than myself had the conviction to go with it, and they did very well. What makes Cleavor good just on the surface is that, for example, the Stone Axe ability, right? Or Stone Axe move is very strong, and because its sharpness boosted in its stat. And it does things like one-shot Charizard. And Charizard, even the really bulky ones that are EV for rock moves, cannot EV for something like sharpness boosted Stone Axe, right? It just simply cannot do it. Close combat is the only coverage move it needs, because Stone Axe hits everything in the format except for like King Gambit. And for the team with a fairy type and an ice type, you're not really worried about Garchomp as much, right? Like Bastion Legion, Frostlass, Whimsicott kind of all deal with Garchomp, so you don't really need to hit Garchomp with this. Feint is obviously just a very good move overall, because what will end up happening is you will, get your Bastion Legion on the field, and maybe someone will scout to protect the they will protect to scout the move that the Bastion Legion wants to go for, but you just feint and blast your specs and you probably just KO them. It gives you prio to pick off focus sash mons. People may try to stall out your snow, right? Your Auroraville, stall out your snow. You feint through the protects, you click your blizzard, you click your shadow ball. You also have your like King Gambit here, right? People will protect to stall out sucker punches, so you can call that and click feint and count out cleave them, for example. So the feint is a really good utility move, and I think that Cleavor being able to deal with like a lot of the meta threats, like I said, it does hit King Gambit for pretty good damage. Stone Axe hits stuff like Whimsicott, hits Bastion Legion obviously for a lot of damage. Like it hits everything in the format. Like if I go over to the page where all the top teams are, right? For example, like look at the team that it beat in finals. Cleavor hits Cleavor. It hits Charizard, right? It hits Charizard, hits Aerodactyl, even hits Sylveon for a lot of damage, right? Because Sylveon's fizz def is not very high. Hits Dragonite, because Dragonite won the previous VR tournament, which we'll talk about in a minute. We'll talk about this team too. But it hits Dragonite, Charizard again, hits Delphox, which did really well here. Hits Frostlass, hits Frostlass on its own teammates. Hits Arcanine, hits Glamora for good damage as well. Glamora will one-shot it back with Power Gem in most instances, or first, I would say, if it goes first. But like, you have the Sash, you can hit this thing for a lot of damage. So yeah, you see how it hits like everything in the format. Oh yes, Scovillain gets like one tapped as well. So Kleavor is in a really, really good spot. And usually when something like this happens right before a major tournament, because as I'm recording this is the week before Indianapolis Regionals, which is the first Pokemon Champions Major in North America. I want to specify that. First major in North America, you will see Kleavor get used at that tournament. It won't be like 20% usage or anything like that, but like it will be enough that I think you have to keep Kleavor in mind, as well as the two teams that Kleavor did well on, right? Because I don't think people are going to try to like break the mold with Kleavor. They're just going to take the two teams that worked and just like bring them to the tournament. So I want to look at the other Kleavor team, because obviously they did well as well. On this one, instead of the Cobra Berry like the other team had for the Whimsicott, which is to block like Talonflame stuff, dual wing beat from like Aerodactyl, stuff like that, you have the Focus Sash. The Focus Sash here obviously does the normal stuff. This is a Scarf Kleavor, and this one has a different moveset, which makes it operate in a fundamentally different way than the other one, right? So this one is more like a fast, trying to get the moves off before the opponent can kind of Kleavor. U-turn makes it to where like you can pivot out of bad situations, and with Scarf you'll outspeed like most things in the format, or actually everything in the format really. I think even like Basket Legion, you will outspeed because Kleavor is naturally faster, and you're jolly to make sure that you are always outspeeding it. So your U-turn will always go off if you need it to, so you can like switch out into something else. You can also click your Stone Axes like we mentioned before, close combat, because again I think you need to have that as the coverage. But you have, with this one, you have Choice Scarf Rock Slide. So it's like different to Garchomp's Choice Scarf Rock Slide, because this one is stab again, right? So it's just much stronger than Garchomp's Rock Slide. So you cannot EV for that as effectively. So those like Charizard and Aerodactyl leads are not as effective against something like Kleavor or like Whims, because they will Tailwind. Even if you like don't get flinched to your arrow and you click Tailwind back, your Charizard is still going to underspeed by the Scarf Kleavor. So you have to like keep that in mind, right? And then like paired with like Whimsicott, you can kind of deal with those Garchomps again, because you can Moonblast them. And you could also just like pivot out to something else, like your own Charizard, for example. Now I will say Kleavor is weak to rock because it is part bug, so that may not be like the always most like optimal thing, but you guys kind of get where I'm going with that. The Sneasler here is also an adamant one, so I presume that this is also like a bulky adamant Sneasler. I doubt that it's adamant max. Charizard also very standard. The Kingambit here is different to the other one, where this one goes for Iron Head, which I think makes sense, because you do have like yeah, I guess it makes sense. Black Glasses Iron Head is a set that sometimes pops up here and there. Usually Black Glasses is with Swords Dance, and then if it's like Kingambit has like 3 attacks or 4 attacks, it's like Choppleberry. But I think some people are obviously feeling that the damage on Kingambit is a bit lacking at times without the Black Glasses. And I think if you're running the glasses, sometimes Iron Head is fine, because you still don't hit certain types, like you don't hit opposing Sneaslers, for example, right? And just looking at this team, like Sneasler hits Whimsicott for pretty good. Close combat hits here for pretty good. Obviously it struggles with Basket Legion. Direct Claw into Charizard is pretty solid, as well as like the Focus Sash. So you can't really clear it that fast with all of these mons. So I think like just having an extra attack to hit it with, as well as dealing with opposing Sylveons. I think those can be a little bit tricky, like Sylveons that have the speed control advantage, like they're under Trick Room or something. You want to be able to hit those things, right? So I think it makes sense to have an extra attack just to hit the things that resist dark. This Basket Legion here is an adamant one with Mystic Water. The Mystic Water gives you a bit more damage reach, plus the adamant adaptability as well, which gives you the options of running this a bit like bulkier if you want. You can run it like slower and bulkier and just play with Tailwind. And it gives you some flexibility, because now you can protect and your opponent can't just like lock you down with a choice scarf, so it does have options. Now, obviously the one that had choice scarf did still win, so that one is still very, very strong. But I think that like Mystic Water is also still a very, very strong adaptation. Back in Reg H, a lot of people ran like a boosting out on a Basket Legion and Swift Swim, and they just played it like in Rain or something, right? And we'll actually get to Rain in a minute because Rain kind of sucks really, really bad. Actually, let's talk about it now. So that's one of the things I want to talk about, is that Rain, as you can see here, did not cut this tournament at all. There's 2 Frost Last teams, right? So as far as weather, Snow made it twice. Sun made it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in the top 12. And then we even have one sand user to represent these sand teams. But you can see there is no Rain. And I think that like Rain just struggles really, really hard to be consistent at like the top tables. Like you see like the first Rain teams don't pop up until like way down here. I think the problem with Rain right now is that it's a bit linear in its approach to matches. Like you kind of can control exactly what the Rain teams want to do, and you kind of game plan for them very, very easily. Yeah, you can game plan for the Rain teams very, very easily because they're so linear, right? So for example, you have like your Kevin Hahn's like 3rd place team, for example, right? You're playing against Rain. You know that if you turn off the Rain here, then they struggle to hit stuff like King Gambit, right? Because they have Archaludon, Pelipper, and like Basket Legion, for example, sometimes Dragonite on the Rain teams. With like Garchomp and your King Gambit or your Sylveon, like Sylveon especially as well, like under Sun, where you can't like Electro Shot it. Like Flash Cannon is not really doing that much. Wave Crash won't do that much because Sylveons will run bulk. So like you can hit them with like Hyper Beams. Does it have Hyper Beam on this one? Hyper Beams, yeah. Quick Attack, Hyper Voice, Hyper Beam, Quick Attack. Yeah, so like you can hit them with the Hyper Voices. You get your Tailwind up. You also have like your own Tailwind as well. So like there's so many things that like Rain just can't deal with. And then on top of that, right, your own Basket Legion gets boosted by their Rain, so you can like take advantage of that as well. So like the Rain is just overall in a pretty rough spot. I know it doesn't feel like that when you're playing on in-game ladder because everyone's running it, but like I said, there's a reason it's not doing that hot at these big tournaments. Like if I even go to VR3, this is the pace. Where's VR3? There we go. This is why I also want to bring it up, right? You see here, Rain did not do very well overall at this tournament either, right? Again, in the top 11 teams, not a single Rain team. Mostly Sun. Let me see if this has like Rain Dance. I'll take a peek real quick. It does not. See, yeah, so it's just like the Torkoal stuff. So yeah, not a single Peliarch in the top cut. Even if you go a little bit deeper, you don't get to the first one until 22nd place, right? Because I just don't think it's very, very well positioned. And this is what I wanted to look at too for VR3, because I think I'd imagine it's very similar for VR4. You look here, Arch had 24, so 10% of the field in day 1, and only one Arch made day 2, and that's the one that cut. And the same for Pelipper. Here it goes. Yeah, 20 Pelippers made it and enter the tournament, and only one made it into day 2. This is the PH2 phase 2 stands for. Let me see the Dragonite had 30. There's 4 of them. But I'm pretty sure all the Dragonites, yeah, the Dragonites were not on the Rain teams. Maybe like one of them, yeah, this one. But like mostly the Dragonites were like on other teams. Now I do think that Dragonite itself is positioning itself to be a bit better. As you can see here, it won this tournament. So look at the set. The set is a bit awkward, but I think it kind of makes sense. I'm not gonna say I think it makes sense. It has to make sense, right? Shohei's like a world, not Shohei. Shohei used it for VR4, not VR3. This player, Tota Nambu, won with it. And I'm gonna open it one more time. There we go. With a set of Draco Meteor, Extreme Speed, Tailwind, and Flamethrower. So I think the reason this works is because like multi-scale plus like Tailwind, I think is just like very, very good overall. Because you get a turn to set up your Tailwind on a mon that's like not as fast as some of the other mons in the format. Even though the 100 speed tier is actually not bad right now, based on how everything is running kind of bulky, you can kind of use that speed tier to your advantage. I see this. Oh, this tournament happened before the rule change happened, so we don't have the open natures. But I suspect that this was like timid to outspeed like all of the like modest Zards and adamant chomps and stuff like that, so you can get that Tailwind off. So you get the tailwind off. Draco Meteor actually does do a lot of damage. Draco Meteor off the Dragonite special attack stat is pretty strong. I know a lot of people are scared to use Draco because the special attack drop is very, very damaging. But sometimes you just got to go for the gusto, right? It also runs extreme speed, even though you're probably running a timid or a modest nature, which lowers your attack. But like extreme speed still is a strong move. And again, you catch people at like 10%, 15% health or focus Ashmon. The priority is really, really nice, right? Because then you get extreme speed Aqua Jet plus Sucker Punch. So you get a ton of priority, even if you don't always have your other control up. Not to mention, I do think there's a situation where this Dragonite and Charizard can come together, even though they're both Megas. Pause that as well. Because the Dragonite has Flamethrower, right? So Dragonite's, special Dragonites at least, its main issue is that it doesn't have a way to boost its stats and also doesn't have a way to hit steel types effectively normally. But this team doesn't really have that issue, right? Because you have the Charizard and you have the Flamethrower and the Dragonite. So if you really, really want to, you could bring both. I do think most of the times you're bringing one or the other depending on the matchup. I know it probably looks a bit awkward to have two Pokemon that are weak to Rock Slide, but I don't know if Dragonite counts as a Rock Slide weak because again, it is the multi-skill ability. And so you probably are getting off that tailwind and then you're outspeeding the dragons that the Rock Slide Pokemon. Like for example, if you can outspeed like Garchomp, you'll just kill it in one hit with Draco Meteor every single time. Stuff like Aerodactyl can be a bit rough, but like then you have like Dragonite plus Garchomp plus King Gambit, right? So you have two rock resist alongside your Dragonite. So you get your tailwind up for your Garchomp, and then you can start getting tons of damage down with Draco Meteor and Dragon Claw and Earthquake and stuff like that. Rock Tomb as well. Oh, so we'll get into that in a second. So like, yeah, as you can see, you can definitely oh yeah, Mega Dragonite. I'm like, what's that for? You can use your other pieces to deal with the rock types. I really think I'm going to try to recreate this team and feature it in a video. I don't think they dropped the pace. It has the Venusaur with Leaf Storm, Sludge Bomb, Sleep Powder, Protect. Very standard Chlorophyll Venusaur set with Sash. Another one of those King Gambits with Black Glasses and Iron Head, which I think is a good set. I'm preferential to Swords Dance, but I do think the Iron Head makes sense because there are a lot of things that resist dark, right? All the fairy types resist dark. And I think it's a bit more important on this team than other ones because you have the two dragons, right? And the Floettes are pretty bulky, then they run with Incineroar, so it's hard to kill them in one hit with like Wave Crash, for example. So Sludge Bomb and Iron Head give you two ways to deal with those fairy types, so I think it's important on this specific team that Iron Head is a part of it. The Rock Tomb here on the Garchomp I think is a really cool adaptation as well. I actually featured the team with the Garchomp with Rock Tomb on it, and I think it's really good. I think because for one, you get the speed control aspect of Rock Tomb, right? So you can what you call it, you can slow things down, and then, you know, for example, if you want to slow down an opposing Bastille Legion before yours hits the field, and then yours can come and hit the field later after your Chomp dies, get the last respects off first because now they're slower, so you avoid those speed ties, right? You also dodge like the Wide Guard, so instead of clicking Rock Slide, you just click Rock Tomb into like opposing Rock Weaks like Aerodactyl and Zard, so you're not dealing with the Rock Slide stuff, as well as again slowing them down if they're EV to live those moves. So I think the team is really good. I'm definitely going to try to play some of the team with that. I am very interested in playing with Mega Dragonite, even though I don't think it's like a tier 1 Mega by any means. But you see the team got first at this tournament. And then it also got 4th in this tournament here. So that tells me that the team itself is real, right? Obviously these are very, very good players. So not everyone's going to be able to replicate the results, but it's not about them being able to replicate the results as much as like people are going to try to replicate the results, right? So I think it's something that you have to be concerned with in your prep. This one has like the Venusaur, and then the 4th place one that Shohei used has the Whimsicott, which I'm just going to take a peek at to see if there's anything interesting on the team. So this one, it is a bit different. So I'm glad I opened it up because I'm going to do this and probably wrap the video up after this. So Dragonite on this team had Dragon Pulse, Thunderbolt, Heat Wave, Protect. So more coverage, right? Because Heat Wave is spread fire damage, which I think is always going to be good. Oh, and he's timid. So I think the other one was timid as well. I'm so glad I opened this one up. I remember to look at it. So the other one is timid as well, more than likely. Thunderbolt gives you additional coverage into things like opposing Pelipers without having to spam your dragon move into it. It helps you also to hit the Bastille Legions. So it hits you. Oh, you can also hit opposing Charizards as well. So I think this is a good adaptation. Obviously he didn't win, but he still, like I said, came in fourth. And then Dragon Pulse instead of Draco Meteor to keep your special attack up, which I think is more than fair. Standard whims, except this is modest for boosted damage. Charizard also standard, bulky modest. Oh, so this Garchomp is running the Habanberry. Back to the Rock Slide. It's running Poison Jab for coverage and no Protect. That's interesting. I did mention how like some Garchomps are picking up Poison Jab in like a short that I made. I don't know if you guys saw that short, but I did mention that Poison Jab and stuff like Rock Tomb and stuff like that were like being used on ladder. But this is an open team sheet tournament, so the opponent knew it was coming and he still ran with it. And I think for the same reasons, right? Because otherwise you have an issue hitting the fairy types. So you have like your one fairy resist. You still have two fairy weaks in Garchomp Dragonite. You have the one fairy resist here, so you can hit it with Poison Jab or hit it with Iron Head. This one's Chopple instead of Black Glasses, which makes sense. I do think like having 1, 2, 3, 4 fighting resists is plenty, but obviously Shohei knows better than I do, so I'm not going to question him in that regard. But I guess technically with the Chopple you have 5, and then with Garchomp you have Rough Skin to punish the close combats as well. So this team is also a very cool version of it, and I kind of want to try this one as well. Adamant on the Chomp, also Adamant plus a bond makes me believe that the Chomp is like super bulky to live moves and just still do big damage with its 4 attacks here. The only thing that has a speed boost in nature on the team is the Dragonite, so that's definitely because again base 100 in the current state of the format is very good, because everything is running bulky to live everybody's hits, especially like because we have criminals like Basket Legion in the format. But otherwise I think that's kind of all I really wanted to get into. So just make sure you have your Cleavor matchups ready for people going to Indy. Make sure you have your Dragonite matchups ready for stuff like that. And obviously you got to have matchups into this team, which has been kind of extensively while I was away, I'm pretty sure. I also mentioned it in my video of like anti-meta picks about Glamora being so good. So I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of this team, but just the quick thing is that they're running the Tailwind Sash Glamora stuff. I don't have to open it to see that. With Charizard, so like Charizard and Glim both cover each other very well because you kind of win the mirror a bit. If the opponent has Charizard and you have Glamora and they don't, you kind of just like farm them. And then so Glamora is good in that. It is going to be Sash Glamora in these teams over the Mega Glamora, just because Sash is a bit more consistent and you only kind of needed to hit certain things, right? Like the Charizard. So you kind of want to be able to survive on that. And also Glamora is hard to play with all the Garchomp running around because it doesn't hit Garchomp for much damage. And it dies in one hit to ground moves, right? So Sash just makes sense. And then you get like 2 layers of Toxic Spikes up as well because they have to get hit twice to die. So yeah, now I'm all done. Again, I just wanted to get into this for you guys really quickly. If you have any questions, feel free to ask and I'll try to do my best to answer them in the comments. If you want priority on me answering those questions in the comments, you know, become a member and you get the prio comment answering, and you get the Goldango badge by your name, and you can send me your teams and I will look at those teams and change them up for you to make them a little bit better and more playable on ladder. And I will do that for any kind of team that you send me, and I'll keep the spirit of the team intact. So like if you want to play with like Stunfits for whatever reason really bad, I'll try to help you make your Stunfisk team, whatever the heck it's called, a lot better. I can't sit here and tell you it's going to get you number 1 in the ladder, but I will make it so that it doesn't feel like a slog to play all the time. That's what I can do for you. Otherwise, thank you guys for being here. Click like for your boys, subscribe if you're new, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.